prolific and renowned intellectual, writer, journalist, not only known to India but also the subcontinent and also to the region. And I've known MJ for some time now. Only major complaint I have against him is that when I was invited as his guest for the India Conclave conference, he denied me the photo session with Kareena Kapoor.
Aziza was there.
But otherwise, it's been a perfect host, a very dear brother, committed, such a strong passion for freedom, democracy and justice. Now, let me just say that there is never a dull moment when reading MJ Akbar. He can be diplomatic if he wants to, but most of the time he doesn't tolerate fools. So we will call a Taliban, and not some turbaned fundamentalist or Salafist of persuasion, or by some other apologetic description. Reviewing Akbar's books is, however, a different kettle of fish. Yes, he's never dull, but because he seems to have so much to say, speed reading him is quite a futile exercise. Just keeping up with his thought processes sometimes requires mental energy of Herculean proportions. Most mortals will consider themselves very fortunate to have one of two talents. One, to have the gift of the gab, but lacking in writing skill. And the other, the more common one I would say, writes well, but for some reason or other, somewhat challenged in the verbal skills department. MJ Akbar is blessed with both well. Certainly no question, he's a superb writer, but give him the microphone and we'll talk until the cows come home. My apologies. I forgot that since the breaking of that scandal, any reference to cows here in Malaysia, beef or even butter, may be considered seditious. Now I'm not exaggerating when I refer to his skill, because I had a private session with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, and he said to me, Anwar, you are very fortunate because MJ treats you like a friend, and the rest, you know. Manmohan doesn't seem to be too happy reading reading MJ Akbar's comments. So I'm very much relieved today that I'm not here to review his words. Indeed, it is such an honor for me that MJ has asked me to join Anwar Ibrahim to launch Tinderbox. And having declared my incapacity to review his writings, I therefore now exercise my severe limitations merely to share some thoughts about his works. I followed MJ Akbar's books as a continuum, from Byline, then Nehru, The Making of India, just great classic work, and Kashmir, Behind the Veil, just to name a few. Notice that I use the word follow and not read. And I believe herein lies a significant difference. One may have read a book or be a reader, and yet may not be keen to read another one, while one who has followed wears the badge of loyalty to the writer as far as his books are concerned. He displays it prominently in his library, proudly proclaiming that he is in the know about such and such a book. When a new one comes up, he will be among the first to tell his friends about it and ask whether they know about the new book is out. He has read, of course, but not necessarily read it through. He visits the tome as when the occasion arises. He takes it with him in his travels. And Tinderbox was just one, because I had to finish it before sending an invitation to MJ. Now, speaking of traveling, it depends on where one is going. For instance, if you plan to visit the leaders of Jamaat Islami in Pakistan, then for heaven's sake, don't take Tinderbox with you. Now, this book, I'm not sure if the reading leads us to the dark conclusion that Pakistan is in self-destruct mode. But I'm sure that not everyone will agree that Pakistan is simply beyond repair. Nevertheless, I believe it is legitimate to explore answers to the question, why is Pakistan in the situation it is today? What is the situation really? Well, that is a question discussed in the book, among other things. The book is said to be very controversial. It is an understatement. You read M.J. Akbar's writings and his column in India Today, that it is considered non-controversial. But as we know, controversy is not something a writer worth his salt ought to be shy of. The title obviously gives quite a bit away. It's not for me to talk too much about this book, but suffice to say that whether you call it time bomb, power cake, or Tinderbox, there is some explosive stuff being talked about. So for those who are thinking of a light and easy read, this is probably not for them. It is neither fiction nor drama, where poetic license allows the writer to spice things up, and we are prepared to engage in some suspension of disbelief. To my mind, it is a political treatise on a subject by someone well versed in its history and divergent ideologies. And as T.S. Eliot says, history may be servitude, history may be freedom. And speaking of freedom, I would of course be remiss if I didn't mention Pakistan's great leader, Qaid al-Azam, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who is without doubt universally acclaimed as a pivotal in the creation of Pakistan. Just about 6 months before he passed on, he said, quote, "The story of Pakistan, its struggle and its achievement, is the very story of great human ideals, struggling to survive in the face of great odds and difficulties." Now, his latest outing by M.J. Akbar will put him in the crosshairs of quite a few people, and be that as it may, I leave it to you to draw your own conclusions. But make no mistake, if you need an intellectual wake-up call on an issue that not only impacts the subcontinent but the entire region, read this book, Tinderbox. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum.